Good morning, boys and girls in the internet. Today is Monday, July 30th, 2018. G vlog number 210. We got a crazy sunrise back there a little while ago. Just kind of like a little orange disc. I'm assuming it's because of some fires out in the west, causing some haze over the city. So we get that a lot. Crazy stuff. Anyway, so being Monday and the 30th is also my good buddy's first day at work at HP. So yes, he finally got a job at my work after many years of trying. So he finally starts training today. So good luck with the training. That shit's gonna last like 4 to 6 weeks, I think. I forget how much your training is gonna be, but that's gonna be fun times. I wish you luck on that one. I saw a thing this morning, an article on Engadget, and it's pretty interesting. Something I didn't really think about until I saw it. I was like, that's a goddamn good idea. Now, I've seen this type of thing before, but not in this context. What it was, like 3D printing. That's a thing. And it's a thing that a lot of people do. Now, people have scaled up 3D printing quite a bit. You can do anything from 3D printing a car. Yeah, people have 3D printed cars before. To 3D printing a house. I've seen some proof of concepts of people, they get like this giant, it's a 3D printer, but it's not, it just works on the same principle of and all it really is depositing like concrete in layers, special concrete mix around, I'm assuming like of course a pre-set form. And like the one videos I saw that they did it is that as I was doing it, people would come by and put like rebar into the concrete, because if you try to like 3D print a house out of concrete, if you don't try to reinforce it, you're gonna have problems. It'll be very fragile. But here's the interesting part. The article on Engadget, and I'll leave a link down below, was about NASA. I guess they've been sponsoring this since 2015. I never heard of it until now. They sponsored kind of like a contest. They kind of like reach out for ideas of how to form habitats up on other planets. And this one was all about tasking, teams of thinkers, and usually like colleges, to think of ideas of how to 3D print a habitat on Mars. That shit is wild. I mean, yeah, eventually that's something like that could have came up, but I never thought about that. I was like, holy shit, how come I never thought about that before? I saw them 3D printing homes here, but I never thought of the idea to, automatically 3D print some kind of, building on another planet. And what was cool is some of the ideas that they had, there was a prize, right? It was a $100,000 prize, and the teams kind of split the prize to develop the best idea. I think the article said there was 18 teams and 5 winners, and all fairly similar in idea. The designs of the buildings were all different shapes, of course, but they had to kind of put together a little video and a proof of concept video that shows kind of what their buildings look like, how they're going to be made, what the 3D printer is going to do. And I thought that was very interesting. I'm like, all right, there are some aspects that you can't really get with 3D printing alone. Like when you're on Mars, for example, you have to worry about atmosphere. They have an atmosphere. There's nothing we can breathe, though. It's a very light atmosphere. The gravity is a little bit different. You gotta, take that into account. Radiation levels, since they don't have much atmosphere, and they probably don't have a very good, magnetic sphere to protect them from sun rays. You gotta worry about that. So, like, for example, atmosphere, you have to kind of have a pressurized building. So you have to, while you're 3D printing, have doors and ports that can keep in pressure. One of the ideas actually had kind of like, the 3D printer that went there. It's kind of like, the rocket we send there will be the 3D printer. And there's a giant kind of like enclosed capsule that will have preformed things that we can't print on the fly, like doors, windows, and things like that inside the ship already. So in the machine, as it's 3D printing, will place these doors where they need to be and whatnot. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Like, okay, that's kind of how I would have probably thought about it if I was doing something like that. Because otherwise, you can easily like print a building, just this basic form, but then you'd still have to send more cargo ships to the planet that contain things like that. Of course, you're gonna have to send cargo ships for like all your equipment. If you have like scientists going up to Mars and they have to do like laboratory experiments, and you gotta have something to to store food. You can't 3D print that. You have to send all that stuff. But just the homes themselves. And here's an interesting one that is like, that's a pretty neat idea. Is that the material they use to 3D print would be the Martian soil itself. So you basically, like, I'm assuming the ship itself has a coagulate, some kind of liquid to bind the soil. But all you'd have to do is, like, one of the ones that had that, they'd send out like little tiny rovers that go out and like kind of dig up the soil for them, and just kind of collect all the soil, and so the printer can use that, mix the soil in the printer to spit it out. Now I'm sure something like that would take quite a long time to gather the materials necessary once you're on the planet. But I'm wondering if that's even possible on, like, say, the moon. I'm sure if NASA like ever really goes forward with something like this, because usually when they do something like this and they ask people for ideas, they really, I'm sure they brainstormed a lot and they thought of similar ideas, but they kind of like want to branch it out and go like, hey, let's put it out there and see what other ideas people could come up with, something that we didn't think about yet. And that's usually what they do. And then you can get some pretty brilliant minds out there that otherwise, if they're not part of NASA, you would never hear these ideas. So put these out there. Now, of course, like I said, I'm sure NASA thought about, okay, if they're going to go forward with trying to 3D print a habitat on Mars, you should start with the moon first to see if it's possible. That would be a lot cheaper, a lot quicker to get to the moon. And of course, I think that if we're going to be wanting to send something to Mars, the easiest way is to do it from the moon. When you want to get to Mars, is set up a moon base first. Because at least like you can, it's kind of like not like a stopping point, because the moon is still super far away from Mars, relatively. But when you're working something like that, you don't have to worry about launching from such a huge gravitational pull like Earth. You can launch from the moon and get to Mars without having to worry about launching with a huge fuel payload. But just imagine that. I mean, God, I would love to be able to see that. Like, hopefully within my lifetime, that'd be something to see, is them sending up some kind of rover type thing that is a 3D printer in space that just kind of, uses like the moon soil, for example, mixes it out, extrudes it out, and just makes a little building on the moon. You can make something simple at first, and ramp up the complexity from there. So I think that's very interesting. I'm excited to see the possibilities. Again, go check out the link I'm putting below, so you can see the different concepts that people have come up with. And it got me thinking about, okay, how would I do it if I were to think of an idea? Look at the sun. Most of the things I would probably think of is exactly what these people thought of too. I would keep things as simple as possible. Probably one of the better ideas they had was kind of like a cylindrical form, but it was like bowed out, to kind of like add some structure to it. That's something that I would definitely use for sure. And it kind of like tapers at the top and to have like a smaller tip top on it. That's something I would probably design, but I also design it so, like some of the other concepts I saw where, it's like it's a cylinder, but something that you could form in clusters, so you could have like one, but easily, maybe have like a hexagon shape to it, or almost hexagonal, and so you could like put another building like next to it, facing it, and just have like hexagon pattern buildings, so you could always constantly expand to other buildings and stuff. So I don't know, that's just something I thought about, but all very cool stuff. I love thinking about space and the different things that people are working on in space and where the future of NASA and all kinds of space agencies are going. So you don't know this, we got like 50 space agencies in this world. No one, people don't think about that, but people thought, oh, there's like NASA, and Japan has one, and China has one, Russia has one, and they can't really think of anybody else that has them, but actually there's a lot more. India has one, France, there's even like I think South Africa has one, and some other countries around that have their own space agencies. But we all got to work together and collaborate and think about cool things like that, because space exploration is like the coolest field ever, I think, in my opinion. Because there's just so much to know out there. There's so much to learn. It's just infinite possibilities. And just like, there's some things you can learn here that you can probably learn everything you need to know about it, and you don't need to learn anymore. But with space, the more you learn about it, the more questions are opened up, and the more you have to think about what the hell, what's next? What else do we have to know? You answer one question, and 10 more questions open up. That's the coolest thing about space. So I'm always excited about learning things like that. What do you think? Let me know. And hope you're excited about the future of space travel as I am. So that's it for today. I'll talk to y'all later. Everybody have a good day, and I love you.